Hello everyone, what you're about to see is a quick discussion, I say quick, it was about half an hour long, with my friend Jean-Luc Harry, about the recent affairs at Character Options, the rumours that they've lost the current licence, as well as brief discussion of the new Warriors of the Deep set, and just the state of Doctor Who merchandise in general. So if any of those topics float your boat, you're bound to enjoy this little video that I've prepared. Also, if you're new around here, please do consider subscribing, I do regular Doctor Who content on the channel, and if you want to hear more of my Doctor Who opinions, be sure to follow me on Twitter. Alright, so hopefully I recorded an introduction to this prior to me starting this thing, but basically, I got John here, and we were just talking about the recent character options news, and I thought, hey, we're already talking about it, might as well record ourselves talking about it. So to give a quick rundown for anyone who isn't aware, it was like recently, I guess, kind of confirmed. Someone emailed Character Options and went, hey, what's going on with the toys, please, can you tell us? And they went, yeah, we don't have the license for current Doctor Who anymore. And I just thought that was an interesting thing, because we've all sort of wondered why we haven't had, like, any new stuff for, like, ages. I think the last thing was, like, was it, like, one of the friend or foe, the companion sets, like, the companion...
Yeah, it was, like, just after Series 12 aired or something.
Yeah, like, there's not been anything else after that, I think. That was the latest thing. So everyone's been wondering, where's any new Who stuff? And I think the last thing that wasn't 13th Doctor era related might be the Davros and 12th Doctor. Maybe.
Yeah.
I think.
I think you're correct there.
If not, I'm sure someone will correct me in the comments. But basically, we've had it kind of confirmed why there hasn't been any current stuff. I mean, to be fair, the wording of current, which is what they say in the email, is kind of vague, because that could mean just the 13th Doctor era, kind of similar to what, not Character Options, Big Finish have, where they can't, you know, do anything on the new era until it's over. But we've already seen 13th Doctor stuff before, so it wouldn't really make sense to cut that off midway. Or does it mean everything from 2005 to now? Because it's just a really weird scenario.
That would be a very strange decision, I would feel, on characters' like behalf if they did do that, because like we already know how much Tenant merch and stuff sells. Like we've seen it like over the years. You've made videos on it. It's like, so to cut off just all New Who from your like market is very strange.
Yeah. I think did the guy who did like the Doctor Who figures, I think his name's Al Diwa, the main guy.
Yeah.
Didn't he say that, like, New Who stuff doesn't sell? But, like, my point to you was, I made this point to you whilst we were talking, you know, not recording it. Like, you know, my point was, they haven't really given New Who a fair throw of the dice for a while.
Yeah.
Like, in terms of just letting them release regular New Who stuff, we haven't really had that since 2012. You know, in the regular, like, 5-inch scale, like, we haven't had...
Well, that's when that's when the range started, like, properly dying off. Yeah. And they, like, started replacing it with, like, the smaller figures.
Yeah, the 3.75-inch, yeah.
Yeah.
It's just...
I mean, the Capaldi run, you have, like, no figures. You have, like, the Doctor and the Master, and that's about it.
It's a really weird scenario, because it's, like, on the one hand, I read it, and I was, like... I was kind of, like, disappointed, but at the same time, I wasn't shocked by it. Because, like, with the lack of stuff that we've been getting, and to be fair, people like Eagle Moss have been doing a lot more with the license of recent than Character have been. You know, you've seen, if you've seen some of the stuff they've been putting out little Big Finish figurines and all sorts.
Yeah, they've been covering, like, all,
you know,
all sectors.
And, like, whenever there's a new monster in the current era, they've got that out. A new character that people really want, they've got that released. So they've been doing a lot, and obviously I know they're not the same product. But in terms of, like, I'm like, from the BBC's perspective, if you look at it, I don't know, obviously, we're kind of speculating here on to what degree it's character's decision, what degree it's BBC's decision, whatever. But, like, let's just say that character made the decision to go classic Who stuff, right? And every now and again they'll release, like, a K1 robot or that rumoured Warriors of the Deep set that's rumoured to be a thing.
Yeah, like tomorrow.
If you look at that from, like, the BBC's point of view, it's like, well, do we keep the license for new stuff with the people who aren't going to make new stuff, or do we let the people who've actually been making new stuff have the new Who license, the Eagle Moss people? Like, from a business perspective, it's
But the
kind of
thing
like,
is, realistically, we should and could have the best of like both worlds.
we could,
For
yeah.
whatever reason, we're not getting that. Um, I am starting to feel that. Did you say that Al said that the reason they weren't making it was because it wasn't
I
selling?
mean, I've just heard that that's what, like, someone said that he
Yeah,
said. I don't know whether that's true
yeah.
or not. I'm just sort of, basing it off of what I've heard, but, like,
I know that he is like a obviously a much bigger Classic Who fan. You know, he grew up with that that run, and he's not really the biggest Jodie fan. But
yeah.
even still, you shouldn't let your own personal bias
Yeah,
come
it'd be really
into
weird, wouldn't it? It'd be like me
yeah.
running character options and going, well, I
So
don't like the 13th Doctor era. None of that. Just cutting all that off. It's like,
I think it's also it's very hard to like compare them as well because the only figures we've had released from the Jodie run have been human like figures, like just
yeah.
man in brown jacket. The
This,
thing is, there's a history with figures, and they are always the figures that don't sell as well with kids. Like I
yeah.
remember like going into Toys R Us or Woolworths, and you just had have pails of the editor from series one, or
Yeah. No,
I
like, the
know
monsters are
that
like.
doctor guy.
This is like a more general problem with, like, Doctor Who merchandise and marketing stuff. The people at Doctor Who don't seem to realize that what kids, especially, and what sort of, I guess, younger teens as well to a certain degree, gravitate towards in Doctor Who is the monsters. They like the cool monster
Yeah.
designs. When you buy a toy, especially, you want a cool monster to put on the shelf. You know, Bradley Walsh, yeah, okay, he's a main character, but he just looks like a guy, And it's
Yeah,
like,
it's like if you're going to release, I feel like what they should have done if they're going to release these like 3 packs of figures, you should have like one companion, 2 monsters, or like no, or like 2 companions, 1 monster, just to, like vary it up.
yeah,
I think they did do that for one of them. I think you got like a Jadoon captain in one of them, but even then, it's just kind of like we've already had a Jadoon figure.
yeah, it's like they won't even do re-releases.
That's what's baffled me is the fact we haven't got like how easy would it have been to do like 13th Doctor with like some Weeping Angels
Yeah,
or something like
exactly.
to coincide with
It's a really strange thing with the Weeping Angels, especially because they're just such an easy thing to re-release, and like we
yeah.
haven't had a re-release of them in so long, and it just seems like it would make sense for them to be re-released with Flux and everything, and that's why I don't really buy the budget excuse, because it's like
Mm.
they've got the
I think
molds for half of these things, so I don't really get
yeah.
the budget thing,
Hmm.
and it's like if they've got the budget to make, obviously I know the K1 robot is from like existing molds and stuff,
Yeah.
but I'm pretty sure like the Sensorites, I'm pretty sure they had new heads. The head sculpts on them were new.
Yeah, they can afford to. They said that what they've done is they're essentially going for more quantity over quality, where it's like they can afford to get like new head sculpts and like um minimal like tooling, but they can't really afford to like create whole new figures, and that's why a lot of them are just
But then at
what's it
that point
primeval figures
I would
but
question,
repainted.
at that point, if they haven't got the money for that, why haven't we had a Sasha Dewan Master? You've already got the 11th Doctor Series 7B, like, body, with a bit of, like, adjusting and a new head sculpt. You've got a new figure there. Same goes for something like
Yeah.
John Bishop. You could just model the clothes slightly of a Graham figure or something. New head sculpt. Bam, that's a new figure. Obviously,
But Tharries, they don't have the license anymore.
well, they don't
The
have
thing
the
is,
license anymore, but like while
I
they
would have
did, I
really.
don't really get why they didn't do it. Like it's
I think
just
part of me just hopes that character just got really annoyed with the Doctor Who fans constantly like going after them about this, and like some like intern has just made this up just to shut us up.
yeah. Well, this is the thing. Someone did
They're like,
point this out on Twitter. It could be renegotiated. So like as much
I
as
think
they're
it will.
saying,
I feel as if it's something that's been temporarily dropped, and they could pick it up.
I
Something
just kind of wish though, because like we don't know how long this has been a thing for. Because like obviously we know the last thing.
It can't be more than like just over a year though, because
Yeah,
like
exactly. But like I wish we'd have
a
had
recent
some
thing.
sort of formal announcement or something, just to, instead of someone having to email the company to, and then they're like, by the way, we don't have the license anymore. It just feels really
Yeah.
strange. Imagine that happening with any other property. Imagine like being a Marvel fan and waiting for like the next, I don't know, Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness, set, or like a Lego set or something, and like 5 months down the line, there's just nothing about it, and then Lego just emails one of the fans going, by the way, we don't have the license anymore. It's just, there's something so weird about it, Like, I guess
Yeah.
it's...
I guess they could have been trying to just slide us slide it under the rug. Maybe they would have returned to it later.
Yeah.
Something that's on my mind that is really annoying me is, why does this always happen right up before anniversary special?
Yeah.
Why does the main figure range have to die, or current range have to be dying when we approach that?
My hope is that...
Seemingly one of the
Oh yeah, no,
most it's one of your prime opportunities for advertising, getting out new stuff.
Well, I mean, what I hope
getting
is that they
people
get
on
it
board.
sorted for RTD 2, right? Like there's a new deal in place for the new period of the show or something.
Yeah, I hope he kicks them up the backside.
I really hope he, and I think he probably will. If it's still a deal that's on the table, I guess. I just find the whole character situation really strange. I found it strange for so long, because I just don't buy this whole argument that more people want a Vord than the new Master, or even a Nightmare in Silver Cyberman. I just don't buy it.
It's the Cybermen and Daleks that baffle me the most, because it's people that aren't fans of the Deceiver are always gonna buy them.
Yeah, I mean,
Cybermen, Daleks, they're
you can see
they're just your go-to
on my shelves. I've got all the little Eagle Moss ones, and I recently bought the Revolution Reconnaissance one, but the Eagle Moss one, because at the end of the day, it's still a Dalek. I'm still gonna buy it, even if I'm not a big fan of this run, and it's just so weird to me. I don't understand. They say obviously as well, they're catering it more to collectors. I get that, but then half the collectors I see on Twitter are where's all the new series stuff? So it's
yeah.
I don't really know who it's meant to appeal to anymore.
I know what started this. It's it was from 2017 when they first put out their first classic re-release thing, and all the posters, it was eaten up within seconds.
Yeah.
I think over those first 3 years, character everyone was almost just praising them, being, oh my god, this is so amazing, we're getting all these classic re-releases, or new classic retoolings of figures. It was I think characters almost ate that up and was okay, well, because you remember you'd get you'd have the new series sets coming out as well with the Ninth Doctor set or whatever, and they'd always be on shelves for months after. All the Third Doctor TARDISes, or I don't know, whatever else they were putting out about that time.
The thing is,
all that stuff was being...
With this, I'm probably going to get a few comments being oh, it's because of the current era, blah, blah, blah. Because, I always get a few of them. But, the problem is, it's not just the current era that they've, just not been doing anything with. They haven't done any, we've said, with, any of the, first RTD era stuff or any of the Moffat stuff. And that stuff, whether you want to, whether you like it or not, is still pretty popular Doctor Who-wise. I'd say at least early Moffat and the RTD era is, pretty popular among, I guess, fans at the very least. So the idea that it's not, as viable as something I'm just looking on my shelf, something like a 5 Doctors set where you've got, a Rastan warrior robot. It's I don't know whether I buy that, it's a really weird scenario.
You have bought it, Tharries.
But I haven't, because I buy them on eBay, which means I pay more, also means I don't have to go to B&M, and they don't also get my money, so...
Yeah, but that's not how that works. They have got the money, and then you've also supported a scalper, so
I'm part of the problem.
You're doing it a lot,
yeah.
Worst set I think character have released in recent years was that like two black like robots
Oh,
from like.
you're saying the worst set is the two. No, I'm not making
Oh no
that
no
joke.
no no! I can't remember what was it.
No, I know the one you're on about, the Earthshock one.
The
Yeah,
Earthshock set, which
yeah,
contains no Cybermen.
yeah,
You know the obvious go-to thing from Earthshock.
yeah.
Just
No,
put like two like kind of you know that body we've reused like 50 times. Let's do that and put two of them in.
I'm just like, because obviously, as I said, you guys know I've got shelves with things on, and you just look at the. I got like a job lot of a bunch of the Eagle Moss ones,
Hmm.
on eBay, and like they've got a Heavenly Host, the fucking Whisper Man, the insect from fucking Planet of the Dead, the tree woman from, is it Knock Knock, the Series 10 one,
Yeah.
the Cyberman on an IV drip from World Enough in Time, the Oxygen guy, Dalek Sec. My point is, a lot of variety there.
Yeah.
You got a bit of, you know, Moffat, a bit of RTD. Obviously I've got my Dewan Master there as well. There's a variety, and I look around my room at all the character option stuff, and a lot of it's classic Who, which is weird because obviously for me, I like the classic show, but in terms of if you were to ask me which one I have more of an attachment to, probably gonna say New Who purely because it's what I've grown up on. Really.
I mean RTD figures and Moffat up to about Series 6 or like midway through Series 6 have been quite well represented in figure form. It's
Yeah.
just like past that you're like, oh, this is a bit depressing.
It's just it's a really weird scenario, and I doubt many people will actually make videos on this because it's not something that's probably going to appeal that well, and I'm aware of that. Making this video, I just thought, well, we're talking about it anyway, and it's recent news, I guess.
Yeah, I think well
So
it's like for me, like I've like been collecting the figures like since I was a kid, it's
mm,
like I
you
would
have
say
more
that
of a
I am
history with it than I do. Like
yeah.
I'm like what you'd call, I guess, like a recent collector, where I had stuff as a kid. I lost it all sort of as I got older, and now I've gone back and sort of tried to get stuff. What I've realised along the way is just like how many gaps that are just going to remain
Yeah. Well, that's
permanently like
I think
there,
this is what I think when I fully like I think I went from like someone who had figures growing up and still like gets the occasional one to becoming a collector.
Mm.
I'd say maybe it was in that time when 2017 or 16 when E&M did start like releasing like I think it was that first like initial third Doctor TARDIS that everyone bought up and then put a fourth Doctor one and like so on and it was kind of that. And
Yeah,
that kind of felt like the most viable way to start filling these gaps from like figures that now go for crazy amounts of money like online.
yeah,
80 plus to like hundreds of pounds. I'm like, I'm just not going to pay that. So
no, it's
it was kind of like for me, this was kind of it's weird. I see it as both a positive and negative because it's like I'm glad we're getting these figures. I'm glad we have like an Ian figure. It's just some
yeah.
like a head sculpt on a new body, but it's like it's something that I never thought we'd have, and it's good to like have that.
But then
It
it's
is just
also
like
kind of like
disappointing because you're like, where's the newer stuff? And like, sure, character have now said that they don't have the license. We don't know what that means. They could be renegotiating things, like whatever. Thing
yeah.
is, they've not been putting out figures that represent the current era.
Or like
And that's kind of
anything
sad.
post 2005 really. Since
When was
about,
that Davros set? Was that 2021?
I think it
2020.
was 2020. I think.
Okay. I
I
think
can,
yeah, I think it was like late 2020.
that was the last thing, and that's been like it's almost 2 years now since like an
Mhm.
actual newly released new series, figure set. And obviously, as I agree with you, I'm glad we get classic Who stuff. I really am. Like some of them are like pretty neat. Like I'm looking at some of them, and it's like
I think like yeah, like the classic Sarah Jane, the Romanas, for
like
example, great
the
figures that I'm
new
glad we have.
like first Doctor box where they've sort of redone the roof and
Yeah.
like sort of made it look more accurate. I've got that and it's great. But it's like, well, I guess what I'm trying to get at is like if they've had the license for all this time, why has that been the only thing we've been getting? And like I suppose you could make it into a more general statement about like the show's popularity, perhaps. But like
maybe.
at the same time, if that's the case, I don't feel like we'd be getting classic Who figures. Do you know what I mean? I feel like if the show was in that bad a state, I don't know whether we'd be getting like
I don't know. It's hard. It's hard to judge because the thing is, these figures do sell well. Like you do go
yeah,
into
they
your
sell
B and
out
M's. Well,
consistently. I
I don't know
think.
about you, but yeah,
Yeah,
you go into B and M's and like, yeah, it is people always rushing about. It's like as soon as they're announced, people are like going about all their B and M's on Twitter. You'll see,
yeah.
being
It's
like, "Well,
it's
if you found it," because they sell out pretty quickly depending on what areas you live in.
and like
People,
again
there is demand for them,
to
and I
use
mean,
to use
people pay double, triple, whatever online as well.
yeah, exactly.
Shows that like people want these.
And to use the Eagle Moss comparison again, if Doctor Who was really obviously, I know they're different products and they probably cost different amounts to make because they're
I was
smaller
about to
and
ask, how
whatever.
much are the Eagle Moth like
I
figures,
don't. I mean, they're not
figurines?
that. I think there's not much of a difference between them and like the character ones, to be
Hmm.
honest. I mean, maybe there's like a £10 difference. What I'm getting at though is like, if Doctor Who was in that bad a state, why would they be making like up to the minute figures on like Carven Easter and stuff for like Eagle Moss? Like, is it just character? It's so confusing. It's so strange. And as I said, like, we don't know how long this has been a thing.
I think it is character. I think it's partly character not having money. I think it's partly character not having interest in the figures they're producing, and
Well then,
it could also be to do partly down on the success of the show. But I feel like that's a very like that's not the main thing. Like people were there, you can still release stuff that people will buy.
yeah, it's just weird though, because like from a business perspective, if the BBC have
Yeah.
known that they weren't interested in a license for all of this time, why have they had it for all of this time? You know, why?
I think it's they don't want to cut their. I think they have a good relationship with character, and I think it may just be that thing of like they don't want to break that. And it also, whenever character release stuff and put out stuff, there's always that hype of like, oh my god, there's that thing. You know, you get all the reviews of the figures and stuff being like from all the big figure channels being like,
Yeah,
whoa, look how amazing it is. We're
and
getting
they
this.
don't send me stuff, and they never
Yeah.
will.
There's always this positive. There's always a really positive response, and
Yeah.
I think what people are like, they're not saying that what's being released is bad. It's like
No.
I am happy that well, I guess if you're like Vote Saxon 07, you are saying that, but
Well, I mean, I think the thing
that's like
about
you
Saxon
know,
is not so much that it's bad; it's just kind of the bare minimum. In so much as
yeah, I agree with a lot of his
it's like
stances on it. To be fair,
it's sort of reused body sculpts, the occasional new head
yeah.
sculpt. That kind. It is kind of very low effort in terms of
Mhm.
what they actually produce. I think the products are still decent enough where I'm like happy to pay for them, but I
Yeah.
understand where he comes from in the perspective of like they are quite lazy in terms of just what
Yeah.
they actually are. And it's as you said as well, we get a lot of humanoid-ish ones. You don't really
Mm.
get many of them that don't fit that certain like mold unless they're like
Mhm.
Daleks. And then you'll get
Yeah.
like maybe a different look, a different mold. But even that mold
Well,
would
that's
have
the
been
thing.
reused from like several other Daleks before. So it's
How
like,
many of them? How many of like aliens have you got that have used like the Rastan warrior like body?
well, yeah, you've got the Rasta
I
Warrior
can think
robots.
of like six.
You've got the ones from Earthshock, which we mentioned. That's
Yeah.
two. There's probably
You've got the
more.
Axons.
The
Yeah, there's
Axons.
Travis Jack.
Oh yeah,
There's looking over my shop. There is like another one that I'm sure I have, but I can't remember off the top of my head.
but
Can't
I
see
guess
it.
my
But there
point
is a
is
lot.
like, what?
Oh, like, even oh yeah, the two most recent like First Doctor ones, Sensorites and Devoured,
Oh yeah, they
both
both
use those
use.
bodies.
Yeah, it's like I just this news has kind of baffled me a little bit, and I feel like it's probably gonna go under the radar because it is a bit more of a niche topic, which I understand. But I kind of just, if there is anyone who, there probably isn't, but if there is anyone who like works at character, who watches this or at any point, let us feel free to like just send us like a message or a comment or something. Just kind of telling us what happened. I mean, if you're at liberty to, I suppose.
And
Because
if you don't want us to criticize your company, then send me figures.
no, that's not my message. You know, that's not. I'm not.
I'll happily support you guys and be like,
It's not
yes,
that.
you they're
The
great.
thing is,
I
it's
love
not
you.
even that I don't want to support them. It's just like
Yeah, same.
it's kind
Was
of
it like
just like you know what what's going on there, guys. Like from our perspective, because they haven't. It's not like
would just be good to have like that transparency with
I
them.
think what's great. I'll give Big Finish. Obviously, it's again not the same thing, but I give them massive props for interacting with the fans the way they do on social media. You know, they put out tweets being like, "Oh, would you guys be interested in like a Fugitive Doctor series some point down the line? Would you be interested in this, that, and whatever it is?" Like, I think that interaction and that fan opinion can go a long way in improving products, and it's part of the reason I think
The thing is, though,
why Big Finish are
I
like
feel
such a beloved part of like the franchise in a way.
I agree with that, but the difference between something like Big Finish and Character is Character make toys for a massive like variety of things. Like they mostly specialize in like
Yeah,
children's like baby toys and stuff like that. So it's like a massive company, and it is only really like Al and like his team within that kind of operate the Doctor Who stuff.
I guess, but then make a separate social media. I'm not sure, but I guess what I'm just trying to point out is that like. We live in an age now where you can literally reach out to your customer base by like tweeting something out. And I
Yeah.
think, there's something to be said for using that. And like as I said, it's not the as you said, it is a much wider net that character options cast, obviously. But in terms of like, I just think that fan interaction can be a really useful part of like producing stuff. If they're like, oh, I'm not sure whether this is gonna sell, run some polls, do something. Just don't just bin off the idea because it might not sell. Like because you don't know until you try. I would say this now, right? If they tomorrow, they won't because they haven't got the license. But if they tomorrow were like, here's a fucking Nightmare in Silver set, you get a Nightmare in Silver Cyberman one that's never been released,
Yeah.
and maybe a 7B 11th Doctor repaint with the Mr. Clever silver bollocks on his face, and maybe I don't know, a Clara remold if you want to do 3 figures. They release that tomorrow. I'd go out and fucking buy that. I don't care where it is. I'd pre-order it. I'd do whatever. And I
Most people would.
bet you
I mean, what
that
do you want?
loads
I
of
mean,
people would.
even speaking Jodie era, right?
Yeah.
What would you prefer? Like the Silurians from Warriors of the Deep, which is the rumor, or like a cyber warrior figure?
Or one of the new Sea Devils that's literally going to be about in like a month
Yeah,
or
that is
2 or
odd.
whatever.
That is odd how they're doing like Warriors of the Deep,
Or at least
and
they're rumored to, yeah.
yeah, and they've picked out the Silurians and not the Sea Devils.
Yeah, this whole thing is absolutely bizarre, and yeah, as I said, I get the feeling that not many people are going to talk about it, but I do feel like it's important to talk about it because it's a weird scenario, and like, this video isn't a slagging off of character or slagging off of anyone else really. It's more just confused. It's kind of just. It's not like we've had it officially announced or anything either, so there's not even like an official reason. It's just, yeah, we don't have the license anymore. And that's it. And like, obviously, you did say in the beginning they could be trolling or whatever. I mean, it'd be a weird fucking thing to troll if that was.
Yeah, no, I was joking when I said that.
Yeah.
I was like,
No,
it would just be like a funny thing.
I don't think
them
they
to do.
would actually do that. I think it is probably genuine. But then I just have to ask, what is what? That's mainly my takeaway. It's just what is going on. Like,
It does kind of, when you look back on like what they've been releasing, though, it does almost look as if they have almost been trying to fade out the new series.
oh yeah, it definitely.
It used to be that there was like they'd release like a classic series of like 2 New Who ones, and then it went down to like 1 New Who one like between them, and just over time, I think maybe since 2019 or 18 or something, whenever they released those like Series 12 sets with the companions, that was kind of like their last like big
I said
wow with new series.
earlier in the video, like when I read the tweet of the person saying they'd emailed and they said, "Oh, I haven't got the license anymore." I wasn't surprised by it
Yeah.
because I sort of knew that they weren't really doing anything with the current license. So I was like, you know what, that makes sense. But at the same time,
I think I
I
was, yeah, but I was always expecting, well, we probably will get a Dan figure, like, knowing character's track record, it'll probably be, like, a year, like, after, but expect we'll
but
still
will
get
we
one.
though now?
And
Because
now I'm like, I know, probably not.
and that's just
I
shit.
mean,
I don't
yeah,
even think Dan's that great. But like the
well,
I
if we've not got a Dewan figure, and I mean, they still had the license when Dewan was the master. It's
yeah,
like, we're probably not going to get a Dan.
probably
That's
not going to
just
get
kind of
a Joe
bad.
Martin. Probably.
Yeah.
I mean, unless obviously unless they already knew it. But then, it's. I think there's something to be said for releasing figures when they're actually relevant. And that's not me saying that
Yeah.
all these characters are going to be irrelevant as soon as they leave. But I guess what I'm trying to say is, once when they're on screen is the best time to release figures because people go, "Oh, I've seen that thing on the TV. I'm going to buy it."
But
Like,
Tharries in 2017, the classic, no, in 2007, the classic era had already stopped airing, and they started releasing classic
well,
series
yeah, no,
figures.
that's
So your
fine, but
argument is
the
invalid.
difference between that was that there was new stuff to accompany it. It
Yeah, I
wasn't
know.
just,
Yeah.
yeah, no, like I know what you're trying to do. You're trying to parody one of like the arguments that someone would say,
Yeah.
but like in that situation, we had new Who stuff as well, so it was like a nice balance where everyone was having. Whereas right now, it's kind of just like, you know, it's just, well, I mean, there's not anything anymore, but it's like, well, unless, well, there's Classic Who still. They've still got the Classic Who license. They said that in the
Hmm.
email, but beyond that, I'm just perplexed by this whole thing, and I know I've said that a lot in this thing. I guess, is there anything closing that we should say? Like, let's, hypothetically, let's say again, someone from character watches this. I'd love you to just comment what's been going on because we literally have no idea, and I think, I don't know, it'd be nice to get some level of closure on it, just
Yeah.
what's going on, because as you said, we're probably not going to get a Dan figure, and I don't even think Dan's that great, but I think it's just depressing that we're not even going to get the current companion probably while he's on screen now.
Yeah.
And that's just a little bit depressing. And same goes for things like the Dewan Master and Joe Martin's Doctor, where they're not going to get anything whilst they're on screen. And I know you could say, actually, you can see here that this 12th Doctor set came out after the 12th Doctor was about. But there you could say at the very least that there were figures there that represented him before 2020
Yeah.
with the
They were
Davros
just
set
they
or
were just
something.
because they were
Yeah,
just repaints. They
but
weren't like new figures.
whereas with
They already had the film.
someone like Dan or the Dewan Master or Reith or whatever, we don't even have a single figure to represent any of them.
Yeah.
And it's like, and especially, obviously, I know I'm not the first person to point this out, given the connotations of those two castings in particular, by which I mean Dewan and Joe Martin, it does look kind of bad that the two, doctors, well, the Doctor and the Master that aren't represented just so happen to be the ones that aren't white. There's something a little bit. I'm not saying that's a deliberate thing, but just from an outside perspective, it's a bit like, oh, the two non-white versions of these characters don't have figures. That's a little bit dodgy, isn't it? And I think that's a shame as well. And I mean, that's a whole point with the Roof Doctor in general, is just the lack of content for her. But the character's just another example of that, where I'm not saying it's intentional, but the optics of that I think are definitely worth bringing up, I suppose. Not that it'll motivate anyone to do anything differently, but it's just, I think it's worth mentioning. Yeah, weird times. I mean, I guess like I said, we should have predicted this, and I kind of did, given the track record, and even things like the 13th Doctor Flight Control TARDIS, where it's a lot of reused Classic Who parts. There's no interior card. You can tell the budget for that one wasn't there like it had been for previous versions. But it's just really weird how it's just sort of slowly fizzled out and there's been no official word on any of it. Maybe COVID slightly forced their hand in that regard as well. Maybe they had issues with production, but then they still be making classic Who stuff, so I don't really know whether that holds up. Yeah, a weird time, and I don't really know how to end this, but I hope you all enjoyed. Anyway, subscribe to Jean, on Jean-Luc Carey. Subscribe to me, please. Thank you for watching. Bye, everyone.
Bye, Leak Nation.
What, you're not calling my audience Leak Nation. That's terrible.
That's your new fan base.
I'm stopping the record. Quick shout outs to Debs Iona, Simon Ashley, Steve Safaro, Shane Smith, Patrick Mewson, Ree Kevin, Seb Lowndes, Jay Monroe, Preston, Hash Shandycoot, and Human Being. If you want to become a member, feel free to do so. It really helps out. You get exclusive posts, shout outs in every video, and even your own badge and custom emojis to use